right? How else could he do chesed? That doesn't mean God is physical. No, because no, because we have to describe him in more detail. You know, he's a great guy. What does that mean? I'm talking about a person. He's a great guy. What does that mean? What does that mean? He's a great guy. That means he could hit the ball out of the park. What does that mean? He's a great guy. Right? It's like so general. God is everything. What is everything? For us to relate, to be able to process that, you have to become more detailed. He's Godel, he's Gibor, he's Nora, he's whatever. Okay, we're ready to start the first halach in Shulchan Aruch. Okay. Yizgabe karig, lamod baboker, labod is boro. Mishna Berura Hanhogas, right? Ventemo. You should be Gibor karig. So when does this manifest itself? When should this characteristic be applied? When you get up in the morning, Yizgabe karig, lamod baboker, labod is boro. Wait. Shihu ma'or ha'shochar, this language, Shihu ma'or ha'shochar, that's from by David HaMelech, quotes a posuk, right? Most people, why they awake in the morning? Because of the light, right? After dawn. You should awaken dawn. You should be up before dawn comes. Shihu ma'or es ha'shochar. Let's take a look at the Mishna Berura. 40. The Gemara has a stira. Brochus. The Gemara has a stira. Lavod is boro. Person should be yizgabel ari lamod baboke for what? For what? To catch a plane to Spain, right? Lavod is boro, to serve your creator, your maker. Ki lekach nivra odom, why were you created? You created to serve him. Kamo shomer hakosov kol adikra b'shmil chvodi borosi. The Navi says, all that's called my name was created for my glory. Va'af em yasienu, here now. Va'af em yashienu yitzor b'choref lomar. This is preheated homes. He says, even though your inclination may pressure you in the winter, ech tama baboki akor godol, how do you get up? It's frigid outside. You know, stay under the covers. O yashienu b'kayitz lomar ech tama b'toscho. Adain lo savat mishnoscha. You know, in the summer, the nights are short. At one time, the person slept at night. Why? Because it wasn't the time for productivity. So everything came to a standstill. But in the summer, you hardly slept. The nights are short. You haven't slept sufficiently. Yizgaber olov. V'lo yishmalo. You have to overpower your inclination and not listen. V'yashu b'nafsho, and you have to think regarding yourself. Yeah, you're expecting a call from Putin at 3 o'clock in the morning. Say, you know, tell him it's too early. Let him call some other time. Putin calls at 3 in the morning. You're up at 1 waiting for the call. That's if you speak Russian. Okay? How much would he be careful and be motivated to rise even earlier to prepare yourself for that service? When I talk about to rise for the service, to prepare for the service. So with every level of definiteness, you shouldn't rise. People, out of bed straight into shul. No, get up. You have to, come to yourself. Rise sufficiently, if not that you're in a daze when you begin davening. There's a famous story, with the Satmar Rebbe. The Satmar Rebbe, he would daven very late. So they asked him, it says, Vayashkim Avram Baboker, Vayachvosh Chamoro. He rose early, hitched his donkey. So Avram, there's a concept that Gemara says is reason makdim l'mitzvos. You have to do things with alacrity, with zeal. You have to do it early. So how do you start davening so late? How do you daven so late? That was they asked the Satmarov. Satmarov, besides being Gadol, was a genius, and he knew exactly always what to say. He says he rose to hitch his donkey. He says, I rise early. He says, I'm busy with my donkey the whole time. I'm in preparation to prepare to be able to serve Hashem. That's the Vayachvosh. It says he rose to hitch his donkey. The donkey, chamor, is the chomer, the physicality. I have to prepare my physicality to be in a state of mind, in the physical state, to be able to serve Hashem. That's what I'm busy with. It's not I'm not involved with. I have plenty of zeal. Hashochar. Mechaber says you should awaken dawn. B'shalom kosev sod. The Shalom writes something which is on a sod, meaning on a secretive level, a Kabbalistic level. L'chaber yom v'layla b'Torah. You should always connect day and night with Torah. Let's say you're going from day to night, you should span that gap with Torah. You're going from night to day, all should be spanned with Torah. Or with tefillah. Or with tefillah. Tefillah is, we're talking about like tilling. Heim baboka, heim berev, whether it's in the morning or the evening. So Baruch Hashem, in the morning we span it. Here. Right? We span it. Torah we start, it's already night. It's still night, and we expand it into the day. Now, what about a person that awakens in the morning? This is very important. And you know you're up. You're not going back to sleep. But people, they can lie in bed for half an hour until they get out of bed. Yitol Yodov. This is very important. What do we wash in the morning? We call negovasa. It has to be washed, as we'll see later, in a specific way. Alternate the hands. But there's a question later. Is it 3 times or 4 times? Or no, you can only remove the ruach hatuma only if you alternate the hands. Right? It's a question later. B'diavad, even 3 on each hand or 4 on each hand removes the ruach. But it says, but if you're lying, that ruach tuma is considered something very unhealthy. It's something which is detrimental to one's spirituality, even your physicality. The Gemara says until you wash your hands, you're not permitted to touch your eyes, your nose, any opening in the body. You're not permitted. The Gemara says it's a sakona, ultimately. So if that's the case, if you lie in bed and you're not going back to sleep, you should wash your hands immediately. You should wash them, because having that ruach hatuma, that contaminated spirit on your hands, is something unhealthy. What about if you're going to walk around? You're not permitted. The Gemara says you're not permitted to walk 4 cubits. We'll see later. It's a shiloh. If you're within the same structure, the whole structure is considered dal ramos. And they rely on this in yeshivas. When certain yeshivas, they don't want boys to have what we call negovasa, a basin by the bed with water. Why? Because ultimately, the floors get ruined. They spill it on the floor. The basin gets knocked over. It becomes, I can imagine, you have 100 students, 200 students, and every day, it's inevitable 50 of the basins are knocked over. So you have, the floors get ruined. So they say, we rely, we'll see later, it's based on Eliyah Rabbah, that if it's under one structure, that's called Dal Ramos. As long as it's within, you're not leaving that structure to go to another building. That's all Dal Ramos. He says you have to be very careful to remove this ruach tum immediately when you get up, or minimally not to walk Dal Ramos. And the Zohar speaks extremely and continuously about the punishment for this. Allowing this ruach tumah to remain on the person. It's interesting. The Chief Pastor Frank speaks about this. In America, the Goy doesn't have ruach tumah. Only a Jew. Okay? You go to a kosher bakery, and the counter person, man or woman, not observant, but it's a Jew but not observant. They didn't wash negavasa. Instead, they touched the bread. The serving of this before, they use gloves, the same gloves they touch the money and touch the bread, because they want to keep, hygienically clean. Right? Right? But they touch, if they're wearing gloves, it's not a problem. Of course. But if they touch the food, later the Mechaber says, before we wash now, you touch the food, you're not supposed to eat that food. The food, because it's transferred, that ruach hatumah is transferred over onto the food. Okay? So if that's the case, and he speaks of it, Pesach Frank, like in Israel, you have the vegetable and fruit vendors. So they set out everything in the morning, the fruit and vegetables. It's a problem. So if they're not observant people, they didn't wash properly, they didn't wash at all, whatever it is, and they're touching the fruit. Or what about, you have patrons, you have customers coming, and they start picking and choosing the fruit. So and you live in a Jewish community, many of the people are Jews, not observant Jews, and they're touching the fruit. And the fruit's not prepackaged. So what happens? It's a problem. It's a problem. What about if you go to a dentist, and the dentist himself is not an observant Jew? That's the story with the Chazon Ish. And he puts his fingers in your mouth, right? It's a problem. So you'd say, you go, make sure to be the fourth or fifth patient. By the time he gets to you, he's washed his hands multiple times, so you don't have to worry about it, right? Chazon Ish, every moment of his life was fully invested in Torah. And one night, maybe 2, 3 in the morning, he had a tremendous toothache, to the point where it actually interfered with his thought process, that he was in such pain. And he studied, he delved very deeply, but because of the pain, he wasn't able to. So he figured, just review, not apply himself to a greater degree. He reached a point, even that. He said it'll be Mabes Edra. Chumash Rashi reached a point, it was excruciating, he couldn't. Say Tillim. Reached a point, not possible. Couldn't even say Tillim, the pain was too excruciating. So he had somebody who always was with him when he was older, after his wife passed away. So he asked him to go call a dentist, an observant dentist in Bnei Brak. He woke him up 3:30 in the morning. The person didn't mind being woken up, comes to meet to the house of the Chazon Ish, and he explains him what he has. So he says to the Chazon Ish, open your mouth. I want to have to check. So the Chazon, before he puts his hands in, he says, I want to ask you, he says, I don't want to insult you. I don't want you to be offended. Did you wash Negelavasa? He says, of course I wash Negelavasa. Then he says, 3 times or 4 times? He says, 4 times. He says, okay. Now you can, he says, the reason why I don't want you offended, he says, I'll tell you why. He says, my whole life I've dedicated to the study of Torah. Besides the danger of the Ruach HaTumah being put into your mouth, it causes one to forget his Torah. He says, my whole life is my Torah. I'm living for my Torah. So to put my Torah in jeopardy, because there's a chance maybe you didn't wash right, he says, God, pain, no pain. There's no way you're putting your hands in my mouth. I'm not putting my life in danger, which my whole life is my Torah. That's the story. Okay? Some people put their foot in their mouth. Okay? There's no ruach tum on the feet. Okay? Exactly. No, he says, that's Api Kabbalah. It says, V'gisavo Yom V'Layla. No, throughout. No. It says you should study unceasingly Torah. V'gisavo Yom V'Layla. So it doesn't mean Yom V'Layla, no. What the Torah is saying, you have to connect them. There should be no interruption day and night. Torah should infuse the day and the night. There should be no interruption between day and night in regard to Torah study. That's what the pasuk say. Wait, this is very important. Kol mokom cholila lavor shum isa avor chesron netilos yudayim. Let's a person rises in the morning, he has a tremendous urge to urinate. And he has to withhold himself because he says, I want to first wash Negelavasa. He's doing the wrong thing. Because the Gemara says, not only your kidneys, you could actually, it could ultimately cause an infection which could lead to sterility, causing an infection. You go, let's say somebody else prepared Negelavasa, and you're going to use his Negelavasa, you're going to be a tzaddik on somebody else's cheshbon. I've been saying that don't wash Negelavasa and do Rahari, it's considered stealing. But a famous story with the Chofetz Chaim. I got to give Machi a full dose of story this morning. The Chofetz Chaim, he was world renowned to be a chassid. He had a guest. The Chofetz Chaim, so you ever go to a Hasidic house, they say all kinds of things before they get to Shalom Aleichem. They rise and they're shaking and they're swaying, The only thing that's not swaying is the chandelier. Everything else is swaying. By Hasidim. By a person not a Chassid, you say one, you start with Shalom Aleichem, Eishes Chaim, go straight to Kiddush. By there's a whole thing, 15, 20 minutes even before you get to Kiddush. Okay? The Chofetz Chaim, person comes, guest Chofetz Chaim's house. Straight to the Kiddush. No Shalom Aleichem, no Eishes Chaim, straight to the Kiddush. Person's amazed. This is the world renowned tzaddik, chassid, holy man. Go straight to Kiddush. What's the urgency? So he says to the Chofetz Chaim, he says, I don't want to ask any question, but he says, minimally, Shalom Aleichem. He says, I want to explain you something. The girl who works in this house is a Yisoma, is an orphan. She's been up since Thursday night all night preparing for Shabbos, cleaning the house, cooking, helping my wife cook, so and so forth. She hasn't slept. She barely could stand on her feet. It's important for her to eat immediately. He says, what I'm going to be a tzaddik, say Shalom Aleichem, Eishes Chaim, and delay her that she shouldn't be able to eat. She has to go to sleep. Yeah, that was the Chofetz Chaim. Famous story with the Rabbi Shlomo Salanta too. The Gemara, based on the Gemara Chulin, the Mechaber rules that when you wash Dil Sinai, if you use, Ernie, there's a good idea versus the insurance company, that if you use an abundance of water from Dil Sinai, it's a school of for wealth Ashirus. So Rabbi Shlomo Salanta, who was the Gadol Ador, who instituted the whole Muslim movement, he's a guest in someone's house, and he uses the minimal amount of water just to wash Dil Sinai. The minimal. So somebody looks at him amazed. You should gush it on. Just pour it on in a gush. He says, I want to ask a question. He says, who do you think brings the water to the house? Somebody has to go to the well, carry a bucket or a barrel of water on his back. What, I'm going to be a tzaddik that this man has to bring more water? The less often he has to do it, the less of a burden it is. Where do I have a right? Understand? This is godless. This is Gedolei Yisrael. You're not compromising the halacha, but to be able to benefit something which is not the obligation, I have no right to do that. Can't be a tzaddik on somebody else's cheshbon. Imlo sheborlo, he says, now this is important. Imlo sheborlo shetekev tumoros macherim. Sheitein tekev tumoros macherim. He says you can take somebody else's water if the moment you finish, you can replace the water immediately. Because we could say with certainty, the person wouldn't mind. Right? But very often, a person borrows a pair of tefillin. Gemara says, you don't have to ask permission. You use somebody else's tefillin. But you know something? Or somebody else's towel. You have to rewrap it exactly as you found it. If not, it's considered gzela. It's considered stealing. Because we could say with certainty a person would want somebody else to be able to be yotze with his object, the mitzvah. But that's only if you put everything back to where you found it. But sometimes the person bought it, they just leave it just unraveled on the table. The towel's just thrown on top of the tefillin. They walk out. The person comes back, he can't even find his towel since tefillin. So the man's a thief. Right? People don't think. People borrow books. They never return the books. Never return them. Svarim. But if you're going to take it and you're going to return it immediately, it's not a problem. I'll tell you the truth. In yeshiva, people have names. So you can borrow somebody else's Gemara. You want to look at something. It's not you're going to sit and learn with it, where he needs the Gemara for himself, because everybody has his own Gemara in yeshiva. It's like lahavdil, like textbooks. You have your own textbook. So you have your own Gemara, lahavdil. Okay? But sometimes these certain boys used to write, cannot be used without explicit permission. Yeah, that's what he was writing in the Gemaras. Understand? It told you a little bit about the person. You don't breathe the air in this room unless I give you permission. They give ice, and they don't even give ice away in the winter. These kinds of people, whatever it is, this kind of person. There was a certain person in yeshiva, in the olden days, where the food wasn't. Today, food is at something on a quality level. In those days, it wasn't. So once in a while, they would give danishes. When they have a dairy meal, to a certain person, and they would put enough. They had 6 people, 8 people on a table. They put 6. Come to the table, and I see this person. This person was a South African. He was a South African, and I see he hasn't even gone. He already has 2 danishes next to him. So I said to him, I said, There's only enough for the people on the table. How do you take two? That's what he said to him. How do you take two? And we're not talking he was 10 years old. He was about 20 years old, 21 years old at the time. He said, how do you take two? He said, well, it's true, but you realize it's inevitable there can be extras in the dining room. So if the person can't find it, he'll go to another table and take from another table. Yeah? This is what he answers me. This man today is 69 years old, was never married. You got it. That's what I'm telling you. He never got married. 69 years old. That's where he's still looking for the Danishes. He's sending the guy to the next table for the Danishes. Okay. Whatever it is. Bekiso, bekaso, bekoso. Certain idiosyncrasies reveal everything about the person. Okay. Wait. V'yeshin ichsholam bozeh. Im eiru shamayim rechokim ve'lo mayim shekorvim elov. He says, unfortunately, people, they fail in this area. The water, the source of water is far away, and they don't replace it. People who will machmir, they don't have water available. It says you shouldn't go dalan amos without washing nevivasa. So they don't work in one stretch 4 amos. It's like on Shabbos. If you carry, when are you in violation on a Torah level? Only if you, from the location of where you remove it to you come to rest, it's 4 amos. If, let's say, you stop before, rabbinically you're not permitted to do it. Then you didn't violate the Torah law. So they, not to be in violation of this, where they have no choice, they walk less than dalan amos continuously. Because Shari Chuval Zed Lo Nira. Shari Chuva disagrees, it doesn't help him. Dot of Yoshi Elchum Rutza. It's better to go quickly. Shalahashis Ruach Rual Yodo. It's not to delay. The longer the Ruach Ruah remains on your hands, it's better to go more quickly. Oh, this is it. Kola Beso Kedalan Amos Dami. There's an opinion that says that as long as it's with one structure, it's considered $1 Amos. Avalein Lismo Chalzer, he says, but you shouldn't rely on this opinion. Ki im b'shas adchak, only if you have no choice. So in the yeshiva, 1 second. 1 second. 6 feet. So let's say from your bed to your bathroom, it's less than 6 feet. Maybe more. Okay, so then you should have negavasa. But otherwise, he says, b'shas adchak, you have a right to rely on what? On this opinion, it's Eliyah Rabbah, that the structure is considered dalan amos. I remember my Rosh Hashanah once told me a story. Rabbi Teitz, he was the chief rabbi of Elizabeth. How did he become chief rabbi of Elizabeth? So Rabbi Teitz learned in Telz in Europe, and Telz needed money, and he was a single boy, single student, and they sent him from Telz to raise money in America. He had his radio program. Years ago, he used to say a Blat Gemara every Saturday, Motzei Shabbos on the radio. It was famous. Hundreds of people used to listen to the radio. He was a presence. He was a personality, and he was an orator. He was able to speak. So they figured he was a good person. They sent him to the United States to raise money. So in those days, we're talking about this is in the 20s, maybe the 30s, early 30s. Even people who were observant. Let's say you'd have a daughter. You had nobody to match her up with. How do you find a spouse for your daughter? The Rav has a daughter. He raised his daughter with certain values. Now she has to have a husband. The men had no interest in the values and the perspectives that she was brought up with. So very often when a student would come from Europe, this was considered an unusual catch. So he came to raise money in New Jersey, and the chief rabbi of that area, his name was Rabbi Preil. Rabbi Preil was his name. Okay? He was the chief rabbi. He has a grandson, children living in Teaneck. Yeah. Rabbi Preil. They're grandchildren. They were nephews of Rabbi Teitz, the Preils. So, heard the story from Rosh Hashanah. So what happened was, Rabbi Preil sees a person like Rabbi Teitz, grabs him. This is, you see, this is a dime, a gem. And he married Rabbi Preil's daughter. Rabbi Teitz married Rabbi Preil's daughter. And when his father passed away, he became the chief rabbi of the whole area. That's how Rabbi Teitz became the Rav of Elizabeth, New Jersey. So my Rishiva, this was like in 1930. It was in the United States. He came over in 29. And he had to be in that area. So Rabbi Preil calls my Rishiva. He says, it'd be my honor to have you, to host you for Shabbos. Would you like to come for Shabbos? Because he needed a place. He had to be in that area. So he says, okay, I'll come. So he said, Rabbi Preil only had daughters, had no sons. He had one son. The Trail's stepfather was the only son, but otherwise he had daughters, only daughters. And in those days, it was unusual. Homes, the person wasn't literally poor. Every home had Persian rugs in the house. If you remember, in the 50s, most homes, you didn't have carpeting that was stapled to the floor. You had like Persian rug. What? Yeah, no, it was more than area rug. It was a Persian rug. Those years wasn't so expensive. Persian rugs. So he tells my Rishiva, you invited on one condition: you cannot have nego basa by your bed. Yeah, that's what he says, my Rishiva. Otherwise, what relevance to the story after what we're talking about? Okay, on one condition, no nego basa by the bed. Howard, you got to have your eyes wide open for this story. Okay, so he says, what's the problem? He says, I'll tell you a story. He says, in 27 or 28, Reb Baruch Ber and his son-in-law came. They were guests for Shabbos. And Reb Baruch Ber was a tzaddik of an unusual level. He would never, and he was machmir in every detail of everything. He was the Talmud Muvak of Reb Chaim Brisker. He wanted negelvasa by his bed. Well, I come to his room. The carpet was soaked with negelvasa. The Persian rug. He says, I'm not interested in that. You want to rely on the leniency that the house is considered Dalar Amos? Fine. You don't want to rely on that leniency? I'm not going to go through that again. To have my rug soaked with negelvasa. I'm just telling you what he told my Rishiva. And secondly, he says, in my house, the minig is the girl sings mirs at the table. It's a question of Kol Isha. You have to rely on certain leniencies. He says, I had Reb Baruch Ber at the table. My daughter started to sing Smiris Friday night. Shabbos turned into Tisha B'Av immediately. He says, I don't want Tisha B'Av. So those are the two preconditions. No negelvasa by the bed, and my daughter sings Smiris. So my Rishiva says to me, my Rishiva was his personality was that to be able to get his attention, when he went into his own world, you could have the world caving in. He was totally oblivious to it. So he was able to tune out very easily. So he said to me, he said, it's not a problem. Thought about something, he was out of touch. He heard nothing, and that was it. That was the story. So he accepted the invitation. He relied on the Dalar Amos that he didn't have negelvasa by his bed, and that was the story. Okay?